do not know. So I'll just take a round of introduction, and then we'll then outline the rest of the agenda going forward. I'll start with myself. I'm Bongani Pongo, a chairperson of the Portfolio Committee on Home Affairs in the Parliament of the Republic of South Africa. Then we can proceed from there. Members? People who are in a meeting must introduce themselves.
Hello, everybody. My name is Adrian Ruiz from the Democratic Alliance. I'm a member of the committee.
Good morning, colleagues.
Chairperson.
Good morning, colleagues. Forgive me for not putting on the camera. I have a network problem since there was load shedding yesterday. It's Ms. Lekwase, a member of the Portfolio Committee.
Good morning, Chairperson. My name is. I am a member of this committee.
For now.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Liesel van der Merwe. I'm also a member of this Portfolio Committee.
Good morning, colleagues. I am Angel Kanyile. I'm a member of this Portfolio Committee. Thank you.
Good morning, colleagues. Musa Chabane. I'm a member of this committee.
Good morning, Desmond Dumoila, a member of this committee. Thank you. Goodbye.
Morning, members. My name is Asnat Mulekwa, member of the Portfolio Committee.
I'm expecting everyone who's in the meeting to introduce themselves. From SITA.
Good morning. My name is Dombuiso Bati from the Department of Communications and Digital Technologies. Morning, honorable members. Thank you.
And the minister and deputy minister, everyone.
Good morning,
Honorable
Jabulo Nzuza.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Thanks, dear. Morning, honorable members. This is Luvuyoke from SITA. Thank you.
Good morning, members. It's Jabulo Nzuza, Deputy Minister, Home Affairs.
Morning, Chairperson. I'm Aaron Kwale, Minister of Home Affairs.
Good morning, Honorable Chairperson, honorable members, Minister, Deputy Minister. My name is Jackson McKay. I'm the Acting Director General of the Department of Home Affairs.
Morning, Chairperson. This is Alroy Africa. I'm a Deputy Director General in the Department of Home Affairs. Thank you.
Good morning, Chair. My name is Vanguard Mkosana. I'm Special Advisor to the Minister, Communication and Digital Technologies.
Good morning.
Good morning, honorable members. Renee Lwelanga from DCDT, Entity Oversight. Thank you.
Chairperson, can you ask the person who introduced themselves to not use abbreviations? Some of us don't know what she's talking about. Yes, can you repeat, Ms. Langa? Because like I said, the meeting today is a different type. Usually when we call a meeting of Home Affairs, we almost know each other and we know our stakeholders. But today, because we're joined by SITA and colleagues from the Department of Communication and Digital, so it may be fair that we know who's exiting the meeting so that later in the day when we address each other, we know who exactly. So abbreviations, it's what is not known in the community of Home Affairs, the abbreviations of communication. So please, can you reintroduce yourself, Ms. Langa? She has gone. Let's take Mr. Mavuso.
Good morning, honorable members and colleagues. My name is Tulani Mavuso. I'm the DDG at Department of Home Affairs. Thank you.
Who else?
Good morning, Chairperson. My name is Gordon Hollenby. I'm the CFO at Home Affairs. I'm sitting with Mr. McKay in his office. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good morning, Honorable Chair and the members. My name is Ntutule Tsenye. I'm the executive at the State Information Technology Agency. Thank you.
Good morning, members. My name is Freddie Mitchell, Executive Internal Audit at SITA.
Good morning, honorable members. My name is Rendan Mseta from the Department of Communication and Digital Technologies. Thank you.
Good morning, honorable members. The name is Renee Langa from Department of Communications and Digital Technologies. Thank you.
Good morning, members. My name is Muleboheng Modise. I'm a member of the Portfolio Committee of Home Affairs. Thank you.
Good morning, honorable members. My name is Pumrani Rabonda from the Auditor General of South Africa.
Good morning, honorable members. My name is Bonolo Moshe from the Auditor General South Africa.
Good morning, honorable members. My name is George Gosh from the Auditor General.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Zandile Mveni, and I am from the Office of the Deputy Minister, Department of Communications and Digital Technologies.
Good morning, honorable members. This is Tanya Abrahams. I'm from the State Information Technology Agency.
No, we can't hear you.
Good morning, Chair. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you now.
It's Tanya Abrahams from the State Information Technology Agency.
Okay. Good morning, honorable members and DM and Minister. My name is Millicent Tingwe from the Office of Minister Stella Ndabeni Abrahams.
Good morning, Honorable Chair. My name is Tulani Ngubane. I'm from the Office of the Deputy Minister, Home Affairs.
Thank you. Eddie?
Hi, good morning, everyone. My name is Eddie Matonsi. I'm the committee secretary.
Who else is in the meeting?
Good day, honorable members and guests. This is Adam Salmon. I'm the content advisor to the Committee on Home Affairs.
Chairperson, I can see veteran Lokota on the screen, but he's not talking. I don't know whether he's with us.
Can you unmute veteran Lokota for introduction, purpose of introduction, Eddie?
Chair, he needs to unmute himself, so I can't unmute him.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Good morning to our visitors and to the members of the committee. My name is Musi Welekot. I'm a member of the committee.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I've just noticed one thing. All those from Home Affairs, when they introduce themselves, they also show their face on the screen. Those from SITA, when they introduce themselves, majority don't show their screen. I'm not sure whether that is not a multiplication of our efforts by zero of really introduction, because we need to connect the voice to the face, general. But be that as it may, we will proceed. We will proceed. The agenda of today's meeting. Number 1 is opening and remarks. 2 is apologies. 3, briefing by the State Information Technology Agency on the status of the missing master files of the automated biometric identification system, ABIS, and the EOH contract. And then we'll take a discussion after that. That is item 4. Item 5 will be update by the Department of Home Affairs on the committee resolution. The item 5 will include what we postponed last time on the issue of the PPE that Mr. Ross sharply raised. That will be also covered in item number 5. Then we'll take discussion, comments, and questions. 7 will be closing remarks. Then we should be done with the meeting. The meeting is scheduled to take about 3 hours. So I'm welcoming everyone who's in the meeting. And we're meeting again. My request is that if we can mute, because the system has a lot of sound. I see Honorable McLuver, your hand is up, but I don't know why it's up. You want to talk to the agenda? Because I was trying to...
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I just want to say that I'm really full support of what we're doing this morning. I think it's really a good thing, because sometimes people attend these meetings and they're sitting in pajamas, they are wandering around, are not really. We are also mindful that times when you speak, there's a problem signal where you have to put off your screen and only unmute yourself and speak. But maybe in future as well, people address this house, and specifically when we have visitors in this specific case or departments who's present, we'd like to see who we are talking to. I think that is thing that you have done, and I'm in full support of that. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable McGruber. That is the agenda. I take it that we adopt the agenda. I think it we're moving for adoption, Honorable McGruber. Any seconder?
Seconded, Chairperson.
Thank you, Veteran Likota. Colleagues and members, as you all know that we are now at level 2 of our lockdown, and we should take this opportunity again to commend the government of South Africa, led by the president and the command council. They took us from level 5 to here, and say this, that we have full confidence that under this leadership we will get back to the normal workings, including going back to attend these committee meetings in the committee rooms of Parliament. But I should say this, that we have learned a lot from this COVID-19, and let's continue to respect the regulations as set out by our government. And we're meeting today on a matter of ABIS and EOH. I think it's not for the first time. The issues were presented, were canvassed strongly before, and indeed we need to find a progressive conclusion to this matter, because it is almost now hampering the work of the committee. We could be dealing with other issues. So we're going to take this presentation. I have not greeted the colleagues from the Auditor General. We have also invited Auditor General because of obvious reasons. They're not going to be making a presentation, but Auditor General has flagged a lot of findings around what we're discussing about. So it is to the interest of the committee and Auditor General and good governance that we get all of us understanding exactly and the consistency of the issues that were raised in the past. So I'm now going to allow it to the item number 3, because this work was supposed to be done from the Minister of the receiver of the work was Minister of Home Affairs. So I'll give to the Minister to break the ice. We've invited the Minister of Communication and Digital, but she has apologized. But the minister that we have is from Home Affairs. I think we'll give to you, Minister, to break the ice and allow the teams that are here. I take it they're all under your leadership and the leadership of Honorable Deputy Minister Nzunza. And then we'll then take it from there and listen to the presentation, and then we'll have members engaging on this matter. Over to you, Honorable Minister Dr. Aaron Mtwaledi.
Thank you, Chairperson of the Portfolio Committee. Thank you also to members of the Portfolio Committee and the representative of the State Information Technology Agency, commonly known as SITA, representative from the Department of Communication and Digital Technologies, and also from the Office of the Auditor General. I want to agree with you, Chair, that perhaps today should be the last day that the committee ever meets to scrutinize this issue of the EOH tender, because it has been in the works for quite a long time. Now that we have brought all the role players together, I hope the committee will dissect very carefully through all this so that we come with a final decision on what we do on this long-standing matter. But just in the form of a summary for those people who might be new, even though I'm also somehow new to this event because I found it already having happened, but because I'm deployed in the department, I'm now in charge. Just in the form of a summary, this matter started sometimes around 2015-16, whereby in a quest to modernize its department and move us further, the Department of Home Affairs wanted to issue a tender to design, provide, customize, integrate, and undertake migration of existing data, that means from the old system to the new, commission, maintain and support of an integrated automated biometric identification system, which is called ABIS. This was done because presently, even as we're speaking, the Department of Home Affairs stores your biometrics in a system called HANIS, the Home Affairs National Identification System. Now, Harness can only store your photos and your fingerprints. ABIS is meant to store your photos, fingerprints, palm prints, iris recognition, which means if we can't take fingerprints from you for whatever reason, we can recognize you via your iris. It also can have facial recognition technique. So that's why we said it was modernization. Now, to get a tender of a service provider who will do this, the department, following the available legislation, the appropriate legislation, asked SITA to undertake the work to look for this contract. In other words, to issue a tender, what we commonly call a tender, to a service provider who will do all this work of what I'm saying, designing, customizing, integrating, migrating data, etc., etc. That is the work which was done. And indeed, SITA undertook the work and gave the contract to a company called EOH. Sometimes they call it EOH Mutombo. I'm sure they'll be able to explain. I don't understand the difference. But the company called EOH was given this tender. Then when the Auditor General time for auditing came to audit SITA, when the Auditor General was auditing SITA, they wanted documents about this contract, which SITA has allocated on behalf of the Department of Home Affairs. But the Auditor General did not get any pleasure from that audit because certain documents pertaining to this tender were not given to the Auditor General. Certain documentation which the Auditor General wanted to finalize this audit were not provided by SITA. And therefore, the Auditor General had no option but to regard it as irregular expenditure. The whole contract was for 409 million rand. And so the Auditor General said, no, this is irregular because not all the documentation has been provided for me to conclude the audit. So they slapped SITA with an irregular expenditure. But now SITA was doing this on behalf of Home Affairs. The money will come from Home Affairs. Then the Auditor General instructed Home Affairs that in their financial statement, they have to show this as an irregular expenditure until such time that SITA provides the documentation and the matter is cleared. If it's not cleared, it permanently becomes an irregular expenditure. If it's not cleared during the investigation, it is called irregular expenditure under investigation until it reaches the end. Now the problem is this process of investigating it took a very long time. I don't want to go into a lot of details, but where we are now, we've got we've got forensic auditors. We've got forensic auditors who are now doing this work of investigating what has happened. And I think the rest of the things, I will then leave them to SITA to actually explain how the documents got lost, who do they think lost them, how are they, because they have to reconstruct the file, where are they? And then we'll finish up by finding out where the forensic auditors are and how long this whole thing will take, which, needless to say, has already taken ordinarily a very long period of time to come to conclusion. That's where we are at the present moment, Chairperson. Thank you. Chairperson, are you muted?
Thank you. Over to you.
All right, thank you, Honorable Chair and Honorable Members, Minister and DM and colleagues, thank you very much. I think I'll continue from where the Minister has left. I think one part in the beginning, to be able to be clear to the committee, both SITA and Home Affairs I think at this point, we are here to address honestly and in detail all the issues that went wrong within this contract and what is it that we are doing to get things resolved, and not necessarily to pass the buck or blame any of the two entities, but to take accountability on what is it that has happened and what is it that SITA is doing. Honorable Chair and members, I know we've submitted a presentation, but I won't go through all the pages of the presentation because the first 5 slides, with your permission, Chair, give us a background that the Minister has already summarized. So I want to start to the core issues with your permission, Chair, on the missing master file, which is what you asked us for, because your first 6 slides basically are just giving a background around the tender. If I may continue from there, Chair, with your permission, to focus exactly on the AG issues and what we are asked to do. Thank you very much. If we can then move, so I'll focus mostly on the missing master file, Chair. So the crux of the matter from when I've joined SITA end January this year, one of the 3 things raised by the Auditor General was that the main master file for the tender, so the original copy of the tender that was awarded, that document is not existing anymore, and nobody can find it, including a soft copy of the same tender that was made available to Home Affairs in 2017, 2.5 years down the line, 2.5 years down the line, that document is also not available. That CD, for whatever reason, is now empty. And we now sit with a situation where we have to say 2.5 years down the line, why are we only now finding that the CD that had the copy of this document is now empty? There is no information in it. And even the paper document is empty. So in the last presentation, I'm informed that SITA made to the committee last year, the only information SITA could give the committee was that the person who was finally responsible for the document, Ms. Swanepoel, died with the document. So something which we couldn't find makes sense. So in the information we've provided to you, because for me, although the presentation from SITA has then said the last person in our records from the investigation that SITA has done is that Mr. Swanepoel had the document and was taking the document between SITA and SSA for vetting of the subcontractors that will be working on implementing this tender with EOH. But there were also people that were finally accountable for the procurement process. As you can see in the second last bullet point, that from a SITA perspective, we are also going to be holding them accountable. Both the head of the procurement committee at SITA at that time, including the senior manager who was responsible for managing the tender, because the responsibility for management of the document still rested with them, although they are no longer our employees. So we still intend as SITA to take action on that, but I'll come back to that. What we have done, if I go to the next slide, Chair, we have reconstructed all of the documents that were required for the investigation to be performed by the company appointed, the forensic audit firm appointed by Home Affairs, SABNT. The reconstruction of files is simply we go through all the documents that were still in the computers that were used by all of the officials that were involved, both in the technical evaluation process, in the adjudication processes of the tender, and we have made all of that information available to the forensic auditors. And as per last week, the auditors, the investigators have now informed us there is no more information at this stage they require from SITA. And on the basis of that information, they will make a preliminary review if they have not yet made that, and they will submit that to Home Affairs. So we've reconstructed the information on the basis of looking for any information around that tender that we could still be able to find within SITA from all the computers of all the officials that were involved in that process. And we have given all of that information to the forensic auditors. And up to now, there is no additional information that they are seeking from SITA. What we are now going to do as part of the next plan, as we're informed by the forensic auditors, is that at this point, they've finished their documentation review. They now want to follow on the people that were involved in the evaluation process and the adjudication process. From SITA, I also have 2 of the 5 people that were in the adjudication process. At least they still work with SITA. So that for whatever final finding that is made by the forensic auditor in terms of any wrongdoing that was done also by the adjudication committee, I still at least have 2 people that are still employed by SITA, which I will be able to take action on immediately the forensic auditors have concluded their own forensic audit, including interviews of all of the people that were involved, the critical people they want to interview that were involved in the adjudication process. And we have made the information available to them that 2 of those people are at the employ of SITA, and SITA will ensure that they fully cooperate with the next phase of the forensic audit. I think on the reconstruction of the master file and the work that we have done to support the forensic auditors, that is what we have done for now. Now, the question then, Chair, might then be, can SITA still be able to charge the people that have lost the files? So 2 of those people, 2 of the 3 people that were responsible for the files have left SITA, one in 2017, another one in 2018. But SITA will still, at the conclusion of the forensic audit, also look at possibly pressing any possible criminal charges on those people to recover the funds that SITA would have spent in reconstruction of the file, because they were responsible for that master file. Can I, at this point, suspend or discipline anyone internally within SITA for the missing master file? The simplest answer is they are all gone. So the only thing I can do at this stage is to look into possible criminal charges to recover the funds that SITA would have lost in reconstructing that file, which is something I'm waiting to do in conjunction also with the final forensic audit to give me information on any other irregularity, so that as I then look into pressing those charges, I am also looking into possible recovery of funds that are spent on the system if there is any irregularity that is found also by the forensic auditors on the award and the implementation, including your cost-benefit analysis on what was awarded to EOH at that stage. So for SITA, we are clear. We know who the people are we will take action on. In terms of the 2 that are still working for us, we want to find any information from the forensic auditors, including the 2 that have left us in terms of the documents that they have lost. We are also as SITA working with Home Affairs to say we should be doing the same thing, including the people at Home Affairs that received the CD with the information in 2017, but only 2.5 years down the line, when a forensic investigation must be done. We are now informed that the CD has no information in it, and we're also informed that the file that had the documents is also not available. That just doesn't sound right. So we will do what we need to do from SITA. We are clear, no one will be left unpunished who needs to take responsibility from this. Let me stop here, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm sure members have been listening to this presentation. Like I've said, we are not hearing the presentation for the first time. The last time we were with the Minister of Communications. But let me allow members to interact. I'm going to be recognizing members in the following order. You know, the system I'm using today, it's a new system. I'm able to see all of you members here. Those who are able to raise their hands in the system, they can raise it because it's this system is fourth industrial revolution compliant. I'm going to recognize Honorable Muela, number 1, Honorable Rose, number 2, Honorable Makluva, number 3, Honorable Tito, number 4, Honorable Kanyile, number 5, Honorable Molekwa, number 6, Honorable Modise, number 7, Honorable Likota, number 8, Honorable Janji, number 9, Honorable Chabane, number 10. Honorable Muela, you can start.
Chairperson, much appreciated. Thank you very much, Honorable Chair, for the opportunity. Chairperson, let me start by echoing what the President said, that let this be the turning point in our fight against corruption. I just want to start there. That all of us, it must be a turning point in fighting against corruption. It must not just be an individual matter, but it must be a collective matter, including officials, not only politicians, but including officials of our government, of any department. I want to agree with the Minister, Dr. Mtswaledi, and Mr. Luvuyo, that this matter is long overdue. It's long overdue in such a way that it has cost us a lot as public representatives and as officials and government at large, because we should have resolved this matter long time ago. But because we had some few challenges, the matter could not be resolved. Now, we need to understand, Comrade Honorable Mtswaledi, that what caused us, what were the delays, what caused the delays, because by now we should be having a response to say this is what happened and so on. People were charged, all those things. But up until today, nobody has been charged, nobody has been held accountable. To me, it's a problem. Now, Chairperson, the AG, when the AG wanted documents and so on, the AG could not find documents. Mr. Luvuyo, the AG could not find any joy. Now it tells you that there is something very serious that probably officials are hiding. Secondly, AG is one of the body that is responsible in giving us probable direction to say, these are the issues, this is what we must correct, all that. And if SITA could not provide necessary document at that blood time, it tells you that there is a very serious problem and we should have acted immediately on that particular point, Dr. Mtswaledi, our minister. Because that's when you got a report that that says AG is unable to retrieve or find some other document for them to be able to process and get into the bottom and get into the detail of the matter. And by that time, I failed to understand, Honorable Minister, that why did you fail at that particular time to act immediately after receiving a report? If you have acted, please let us know what action did you take and so on up until today. Now, you can't lose files and then just fold hands and keep quiet. No, those files, those files are files of government. They are not files of individuals. A master file for that matter, that has got to do with so much money of our government. It can't be correct. It can't be accepted. It can't be tolerated. This matter, we must go into details so that we know exactly what went wrong. If we are saying probable files were with Mr. Swanepoel and so on, the late whosoever, no, he was not working alone. That gentleman, he was not working alone. They are corrupt. They are corrupt individuals. They portray our government that is led by the ANC as if everybody is corrupt, while it's only few individuals who are corrupt, and it can't be accepted. I want you to go and get those people, those who have actually contributed in losing those files, because it's deliberate. It was a deliberate move because they know what happened. They know what they've done. They know that every process that they've undergone, it was an irregular process, and they've actually done very, very, very wrong things there in awarding the tender. Now, come, let me tell you this thing. You lose the master file, you lose the soft copy, paper documents. No, no, no. All these important documents, and Tine was still folding arms like this and saying, no, all is normal. No, it can't be. It can't be. It can't be correct. But now that we are here, what then do we do? Let's go and press charges with immediate effect. There are people who are still there, roaming around the streets. They might not be with SITA today, but they're roaming around the street. They've got money, they've got everything. They've looted our government, they've looted SITA, they've looted everything. Now we've got the crisis because of them. Let's go and press charges against those people. And those that are still left there, we must charge them, they must be jailed, they must be sentenced, because this money belongs to government, it does not belong to individuals. They must be jailed and be sentenced in a short space of time. And Minister, Deputy Minister, please, we want a report as a committee as to what is it that we have done. We must press charges against those people with immediately effect. I will even suggest that even after this meeting, do something. We must do something about those people. They must be arrested. Even if they are no longer with SITA, we can still hold them accountable outside there. The law does allows us to press charges against them, because missing of we have lost the master file, documents, soft copy, everything. You don't have anything, but the money is gone. Money is gone. We don't have anything now. Now everybody is pointing fingers that no, there was so and so, there is this person, one person died, Swanepoel, and so on. I don't even want to say may his soul rest in peace. I can't even say that. May his soul suffer, because he has looted. They've caused us a lot of problems. We are here, we are because of them. Wherever he is, may his soul suffer, because we are in a crisis now. Thank you very much, Chairperson.
Thank you, Honorable Muela. Thank you very much. Honorable Ross.
Thank you, Chair. I have to say I agree with Honorable Muela. The investigation is long overdue, and people need to be held to account, whether they're at SITA or not. Now, on the 6th of March 2019, Parliament required this investigation. That's 14 months ago. And the committee chair spoke about a new dawn and the fact that we can't carry on like we've carried on before. Now, the failure to finalize this matter has a very serious impact on our audit outcome. Why did it take so long for SABNT to be appointed? I mean, they were appointed 14 months after this request by Parliament. And Parliament had said, this is so urgent that it needs to be done by the end of the 5th Parliament. So how is it that it took 14 months just to appoint SABNT to look at this process? from the Minister of Communications, I remember that we were promised some details regarding the missing master file, as well as information about the suspension of 183 people from SITA. And I'm not sure that we actually received this. Can I just get confirmation that we received it? Because I don't remember receiving it and I never found it. And that information was supposed to come within 7 days of that meeting in November. Then we have a situation where the Department of Home Affairs has submitted their financial statements for the last financial year. And in that, they've recorded this as irregular expenditure for the second year in a row, which is not allowed. So my question is, did Home Affairs ask for condonation for this? The fact that they sent it again as a possible irregular expenditure. And then in November 2019, one of the committee resolutions was that Home Affairs should send a submission to National Treasury for condonation. Has this been done? Now, the appointment is one thing, but there are performance questions that remain that are very important to be answered. And I'm wrapping up. So the first one is we see in this report that, in the supporting report to this, that the migration has been delayed again. Now, have the challenges involving the migration of the data, that phase 2, have they now been resolved? And given that the ABIS deadline now seems to be the end of 2023, we have a situation where NEC and Bytes are still supporting harness. When was that support supposed to end? And how much additional expense has been involved in having NEC and Bytes continue to support harness, while ABIS should have already been implemented, to my understanding? Then finally, the question of EOH looking to relinquish the contract to a subcontractor. I just want to understand, who is this subcontractor? And what is the status of EOH's request to exit the contract? Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Ross. Honorable McDougall.
Yeah, thank you so much. No, I don't really agree when it comes to Honorable Moela. And I fully agree with him and his.
Honorable McGrover. We're struggling to get you. Switch off the video so that it can maximize your.
Am I much better now, Chair?
That's correct. Proceed.
Oh, wonderful. Yeah, I don't easily agree, especially when it comes to Honorable Moela. But I want to say to Honorable Moela, I feel you. And I'm in full agreement of what you have said. I should be embarrassed if I was in charge to make a presentation. It is clear data and key and everyone is an embarrassment to this country, really. And coming here to have a report of this nature, it is an embarrassment to this portfolio committee. But Chair, I want to start with the absence of the Minister of Communication, Minister Stella. She's in a SITA storm. It is reported. It is reported 18 hours ago. She's in a SITA storm, and it's so interestingly to observe that she is absent here, and there is such serious issues of SITA that is discussed here. The Minister of Communication must be summoned here to come and report. We expect her to come and account on what is happening within SITA. The timing of her absence raises the eyebrows. Really, it raises the eyebrows. This committee and the parties of this committee has a lot of differences with Minister Motsoaledi. But never did Minister Motsoaledi fail this committee in absence. He's coming here all the time when we need him to come and report. I think She is taking this committee for a ride. Minister Stella is taking this committee for a ride. We must start with her first to come and report this issue here. Now, Honorable Moila is asking, why now? We are sitting here with 2017 and 2018. And we have been told we are looking to prosecution, we are looking to criminal charges. Why now? I think it is far too late, and I want to join my colleague in saying something must be done after this meeting. Otherwise, something must be done to the management who are representing here. I want to ask a pertinent question, and I want it to be answered. Whether there was any consideration for a CD recovery. There are CD recoveries all over the show, or data recovering specialist. Whether there was any approach to data recovery specialist in this regard to ensure that we have this information. I also would like to add to my colleague, Honorable Adrian, who's talking on the subcontractor. If you read the reports linked to the influence Honorable Stella had in the allocation of tenders, one is much more eager to know who those subcontractors actually is. So I think we need action here, and this kind of dish up for this committee. We also need to take here collective responsibility. This committee, the department itself, and those who are representing here, because we cannot let this slip through our fingers when it comes to charges. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Magluba. Honorable Tito.
Good morning, Chairperson. Thanks to the presenters of the SITAs that came here and presented, and also to the Minister. Chairperson, the previous colleagues who have spoken have already spoken the things that I wanted to say. So I also want to emphasize on the condonation. Is the department going to seek condonation from the AG? And also, I want to know, how did they reconstruct a file without having nothing? Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you. Honorable Kanyida.
Thank you, Chairperson, and good morning to you and the colleagues once again. I have been covered by my colleagues and covered broadly by Honorable Moela as well, that the investigation in this matter is the long overdue. And in the presentation by the SITA this morning, it is not clear that what exactly is the action going to be taken against the officials that are still with SITA, though we understand that others have left SITA already, according to the presentation. And when is the action going to be taken? I think we need a time frame, and we need to ensure that this matter is put to rest so that we can be able to thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Molekwa.
Thank you, Chairperson. I think Honorable Moela covered most of the issues, but I just want to ask 2 questions. The first question is that what step did SITA take to deal with the AG's finding on irregular expenditure? And on that irregular expenditure, what was the root cause? My second question, Chairperson, is that on the presentation, the presenter said all the necessary information was provided to the investigator. On the other hand, he's saying that some of the information could not be found due to the missing files. Now, how are the investigators going to conclude their investigation? If there is other information that is missing in the investigations, this missing information not going to jeopardize the investigation, Chairperson? Thank you.
Thank you. Veteran Likota.
Can you hear me, sir?
That's correct.
Oh, thank you. Chairperson, this is a very strange situation. One of the first things that one would like to ask is, how did Mr. Swanepoel die? We are just told that he died. Well, was he driving a car? Was he sick of coronavirus? How did he die? Was there a reported this matter of his death? Was this reported to the law enforcement people? And do we know what the courts found, why and how he died? Was he carrying the file with him when he died? Why is the file linked to him specifically? Because if it's a file that is of a committee, one would expect that when we knock off, they are locked up in the safes of the committee and all of that and so on. Why are we just told, no, he died? Well, did the file die with him? So those questions must really be answered. We have to be given a report that says, when he died, this is what happened. Did the committee, was a search done to find out where is the file that was he carrying this with himself all the time? Because if he was not carrying it with himself all the time, it must have been in an office. So how did he find his way out of the office if it is no longer found in the office? Now, the committee with which the people that he was working with need to give us some explanation with regard to this. The second question that arises for me is, were cabinet members, relevant cabinet members, when some of us were in the cabinet, there was always groups of ministers who were related by way of their work closely. They continuously had meetings and so on. The cluster of ministers dealing with this related work, were they alerted to this? Did they hold meetings on this? What was the conclusions of those cabinet clusters or that particular cluster of ministers? What steps did the cluster take immediately to ensure that their administrators are doing the right thing? Did the cluster of ministers dealing with this matter ever meet? If they didn't meet, why did they not meet? Now we see we are here, our minister is here. Now, certainly the SITA, minister in the SITA must have been involved in the meetings when these queries began. Did that minister engage with our minister? And did they engage the cluster? And what action did they take? I mean, so many years have now passed and we don't have access. We don't hear anything as to what this cluster of ministers did with this matter. Long before now, they should have been tabled before cabinet, a report by that cluster of ministers that there's something that's not right here. Now, we have just come through a long period of this corona thing. But we don't know what happened. We don't know what is happening. And the minister, is the minister suffering from coronavirus? Is she perhaps right now the minister of SITA? Is she perhaps now in hospital or what? These issues is what has sapped the confidence of the people of this country. Because now people, everywhere you go, people are talking about just how there's huge corruption in the government. But it's this kind of gaps that we are finding. I'm in full support with what Mr. Muela has, Member Muela, the Honorable Muela said at the beginning. We must find people in charge of this. But we must remember, the executive is cabinet. The executive is cabinet. Was cabinet ever reported to that we are sitting with this huge disaster here? And if not, why not? Did the ministers relevant to the cluster of ministers in this, did they meet? If they did not meet, why not? Were they informed that there is this huge problem in the executive actions? I thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Veteran Likota. Honorable Modise.
Thank you, Chairperson. I think Mr. Likota has asked a very important question regarding that, Mr. Swanepoel. That how is it that he dies, and he dies in possession of a file personally kept with him? It's really worrying. But it's safe to say also that the meeting is in agreement that this investigation has taken too long, and we no longer have the patience for any more delays. That must just be clear. So we want this matter to come to its finality. And unfortunately, in the process, state resources and monies were wasted, and those monies must be recouped. They must be paid back. Those members whom have acted wrongly, or who will be found to have acted wrongly, must be brought to book. I agree with the latter speakers that these members must account. Those files that were missing, it's not a coincidence that they would have just disappeared from the CD and those soft copies and hard copies on their own. Clearly, someone would have fiddled with those files. Those people, if they are found and they are known, they must be brought to book and they must be taken to task. I think that's all, Chair. I'll just stop there. Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Lizelle van der Merwe.
Oh, thank you very much, Chairperson. And I'm sorry again that also my video is off, but I've got connection issues. But I would maybe just, I think all the questions have been asked, but I would like to just add my voice to what the Honourable Mglua had said about the Minister of Communications and Digital Technology. I also find it quite surprising and very disturbing that she is unable to join us today for this meeting. I think this is it's a very serious matter that we as a committee is dealing with, and the fact that she's not available to account to us really speaks volumes about how seriously she takes this matter. And I would really like you to, Chairperson, to convey our grievances to this minister, because I don't think you know, and it's very commendable that our own honourable minister is always available to come to our portfolio committee meetings to answer difficult questions, and we thank him for that. Really, also, I want to add to what the Honourable Likota had said. This story of a man that died with files in basically in his pocket or driving in his car, you know, it just doesn't make any sense. I don't understand how a person dies with all of the information that we are currently looking for. Surely some of this information should have been kept on computers or, you know, copies. I've never heard about such a bizarre story in my entire life. But also the SITA presentation this morning, the gentleman said that he will be waiting for the outcome of the forensic auditors before taking any further legal action. But again, why wait? Like the Honourable Moela had said, can action not be taken now against individuals who have been identified to have been involved in this crisis that we're dealing with now? Also, by when, I wanted to know by when do we expect the forensic auditors to give us an outcome of their findings? Do we have any time frames, if we can hear about that? I wanted to ask, according to slide 11, the Minister has appointed an executive caretaker to address SITA challenges. And I wanted to know, Minister, who has been appointed as the executive caretaker and what are the terms and conditions for this appointment? If you can just give me some indication there. And again, to SITA, SITA says it's currently capacitating its supply chain management to address all supply chain deficiencies. But what are the practical measures that are being referred to and why were these not in place the start? But really, you know, Chairperson, I think, like our honourable colleagues have said, this matter is dragged for far too long. We want outcomes, we want timeframes. By when will this investigation be finalised? We want SITA to tell us not just that they will be looking into legal action, taking legal action, but we want to know by when, so that we can actually monitor and follow up, so that it doesn't just, it's not just another case of corruption being swept under the carpet. I also want to know, the department, I know Department of Home Affairs has committed to present us with a rescue plan for the implementation of ABIS since EOH wants to terminate their contract. I want to see clarity as to why they want to terminate their contract and what measures will be implemented to ensure that the next service provider does not abandon the project like EOH. And considering that there's delays in implementing the process or the actual rollout, have we collected penalties from EOH at this stage? If I can just be informed of that. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Co-Chair. Honorable Janji. Honorable Janji. I think we lost him. Honorable Chabane.
No, thanks, Chairperson, for the opportunity. But thank you, Chairperson, for with the collective of our members of the committee for making sure that this matter come to the table again. And as members have indicated that since 6th Parliament, this matter has been raised by members of the committee, and we've been grappling to navigate so that we get finality on the matter. I have only few issues, Chair, to raise. Both the Minister and the team of SITA and the Auditor General. I think, Chairperson, in the manner the issue of Mr. Swanepoel has been presented, it will suggest that when a staff member at SITA goes on leave, they go also on mission. Because that is a narrative that is being consolidated as a foundation to a possible excuse when the report is going to be presented again to the Portfolio Committee. So I'm trying to suggest, Chair, that that narrative may want to defocus the committee to deal with the real issues that are facing the department, the corrupt activities that Honorable Miela has clearly identified. Hence, I'm saying that it suggests that if a member goes on leave for 2 weeks or a month, she or he will take all the documents and there will not be any recourse to found a copy or any other thing in relation to the issue. So I think this matter of Mr. Swanepoel is a matter that, Chairperson, we may need to take it in time on the basis of the matter that we're sitting on. The issue of this committee, as articulated by the President, that in the 6th Parliament, one of the key areas of focus is clean governance. And I think the President collective has articulated clearly all our responsibilities as members. And members of the committee, Chair, has articulated clearly that our tolerance has elapsed in this matter of EOH and the activities, therefore, that has initiated this program. They should know that this matter impacts negatively on the repositioning of the department in line with their network of connectivity issues, and that impact in line with the service delivery that they've mandated to do. So it has a huge negative impact on the overall programs of the department. And I think it must be understood with that context that we may not leave this matter not to be attended. I think one of the questions that SITA may need to come clearly so that we're able to understand, Mr. Casey, that since your ascendancy to SITA, what may be the contributing factors of the past leadership not to act on this matter? And I think that is the report. If you're not ready now, we may need to come back with so that we do understand the inner details within that department. What contributed for the past leadership and the current executive for not taking this matter action as it is, as members are indicated, that matter has been sitting for 2 years or so. I think the Auditor General also team that are here, they may need to give an impression on in relation to the financial position that this matter, because it relates to the financial position of the Department of Home Affairs. What is their impression if this matter is not going to be resolved now? If it's going to take long, what will be the negative contribution within the financial position when the audit process is going to? And Honorable Ross has raised that on this area of subcontracting. In their audit opinion, I think they've indicated that there's a possible corruption and collusion on this matter. I want to get an impression from the Auditor General and what, given the scenarios that we're in now, what is the recourse given that the AAU want to subcontract this contract to their subcontracting? Is this confirming the possible collusion that they've made an opinion? Chairperson, I think we must work on the proposal. I think Honorable Muela has clearly given us a summary in terms of how we need to resolve moving forward. That because we've given this committee, the SITA since last year, to come and present this matter, actions were not taken. The Department of Home Affairs are shifting time frame in terms of the report. We may need to be affirmed on decisions on when do we need these reports now moving forward, Chair. I would propose, Chair, that Home Affairs have indicated to us that in the previous committees that they're giving us a report on its investigation in 2 weeks' time. The 2 weeks' time has lapsed. We must get indication, but now, Chair, that all of us were agreeing consensus that this matter is overdue. We need a report time frame. We need action. I'll propose, Chair, that at least by end of September, early August, this SITA and the ministerial, both Minister Aaron Mutwaledi and Minister Ndabeni must come back to the committee to report on the actions and other measures they're taking in order to resolve this matter. Secondly, Home Affairs must come back and indicate to us on the issue of this subcontracting that these matters are, this issue of EOH they're going to resolve. We want to get an indication of value for money that was wasted, the service that was paid without, money that was paid without service by EOH, and the penalties that are going to be possible to be imposed on this EOH because it has wasted resources for the government. I propose, Chair, that we need to move in that manner in line with what Honorable Muela has indicated, with the time frame that is concrete and the action that are going to be taken. Failure to that, Chairperson, I think it would be appropriate, Chair, that both SITA and Home Affairs, they must improve their communication. If you listen carefully, you will get a sense that there's no proper communication between Department of Home Affairs and communication on this matter since it has started. And I think that cross-communication must be improved, particularly that these members sit in cabinet, the DG of, acting DG of Home Affairs and DG of Communication, the Minister of Home Affairs. They can't work in silos because there's one government, one president and executive.
So when they come back, there must be clarity of cohesion, implementation of work, action taken, and those that must be taken, Chairperson, discipline, they must process on that matter. So, Chair, I think in line with what the Honorable Mwela, immediately action must be taken and we must see movement in terms of resolving this matter. Thank you, Chair.
No, thank you very much, Honorable Chabane. It will appear that all members of the committee are singing in one tune, and we're all agreeing. And now that we are agreeing, without even, I'm going to give the departments to give responses, and give a ruling that the first week of September we want the two ministers back here to answer all these questions, including a clear action plan on exactly what is happening. We can't leave this matter to chance. You know, there's a serious outcry around issues of corruption, and really we need to start doing something. It is clear now that you can hear now there are no politicians involved in this. It's officials, and we've got to go to the root of it. So the two ministers will have to come here, but I will give the minister and the presenter a chance to respond. I'll start with the deputy minister, and then the presenter, and then the minister close, so that we go to the next item.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Chair. The first issue that I think the DG will highlight on, or either DG Mavuso, is around the issue of a recreated file from Home Affairs for purposes of investigation and any other purposes. I think we must give them that chance to reflect on that, because we did allude that there was a file that was recreated. The other issue that I want us to bear in mind is that there are two issues to this whole debacle of the ABIS contract. One has to do with tender irregularities, which means the AG was struggling to get the file and all those things. That are references to then tender irregularities. And those particularly happened with SITA, because the tender process was administered by the SITA. And as a result, ours is that as Home Affairs that we were spending on a contract that had tender irregularities, and that is where the main issue is. And indeed, we've taken action by making sure that we appointed the forensic investigators, not just to look at tender irregularities, but to look at the second issue, which then says after this appointment was done, were all the payments made in line with the work that was delivered? Because from our side, we were worried on the fact of the inability of EOH to deliver. Now, I want to answer just one question, is that we couldn't just sit and say, because this contract, ABIS, as a project, is very important for the Department of Home Affairs and the rebuilding and the moving forward with our new ideas that we have as a department. The base is indeed this ABIS system. So we could not just sit when we could see there is no delivery from EOH and say, no, we'll just wait for you to deliver. And that is why we are now, we have taken a decision that says, we do not think that we should be continuing with EOH in line of their inability to deliver and meet the targets on time, having had to almost extend the first phase by more than 12 months. I think now we are running more than 12 months. But I think DG Mavuso will also talk to that issue as well. So ours is that now we are salvaging the process, and that is why we are now considering the issue of subcontracting and so on and so on. But as soon as we consolidate the rescue plan, we'll then come back to the committee and say, look, these are the options we have. This is the option that we are taking with regard to the to the rate plan. And indeed, I think we must make it also very clear that the department does not wish to be involved in any form of defending corruption or anyone who have done something wrong. We have to make sure that we investigate thoroughly so that we get everyone who's involved. Because here we want to get everyone, not just that person, and then you close just because you want to sugarcoat that you have done something. You must go to the deep end, because what you want to do is to remove any form of people who are corrupt, even for future purposes, and not leave any stone unturned. I think that is the contribution I just wanted to make. Thank you very much, Chair.
Yeah, no, thank you, DM. Before I give to the presenter, can I get the colleague from Auditor General to just make a reflection on where the matter is from the Auditor General side.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. I think from our side, we just want to bring perspective to just a few aspects here. The first one is the basis on which we have made the conclusion that the contract is irregular. So we have two main findings. We have one about our inability to perform some of the tests that we need to perform on the contract, mainly because of the master file missing issue. However, we do not report irregular expenditure due to lack of information. We report irregular expenditure where we have got evidence that there is a non-compliance that leads to regular expenditure. And we have got findings other than the missing master file. We have findings that were indicative of the winning supplier being EOH being unfairly favored. Just for example, there were criteria in the bidding conditions that the winning bidder did not meet, but they were not disqualified. It's on this basis that we conclude that it's irregular. However, when we're engaging with the department in July last year, they indicated that the missing information would be able to clarify those findings that we are concluding to be irregular on. It was on that basis that we then agreed to say, let this matter be disclosed as irregular expenditure under investigation. This investigation, Chair, we need to clarify again that it was not, the one that we meant to, at that point, it was not an investigation to discipline people. It was a determination test by the department to say, is this irregular or not? That is why when we are applying the framework for regular expenditure from National Treasury, that investment was only supposed to only last 30 days. For them to come back to us to say, we have got evidence that this is not irregular, or we have evidence that it's irregular. And after that, that's when they go and say, let's go and investigate who was responsible. Let's go and investigate whether we made losses or not from this contract. And where we stand right now, as we have noted on the letter that we sent to yourself, Chair, is that the financial statement that was submitted by the department are indicating that the matter is still possibly irregular expenditure under investigation. We are then guided by the National Treasury irregular expenditure framework that if as auditors we have got evidence that there's irregular expenditure here, the department cannot disclose the same thing as and a possible irregular expenditure for 2 years in a row. They will need to either correct that, or it may have a negative impact on the audit outcome based on that. So for us, the distinction between a determination test just to conclude whether it's irregular or not, and an investigation that is meant at uncovering who was wrong, whether we made losses or not from this contract. That's the clarity we need to provide, Chair. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Can I give a chance now to SITA?
Thank you, Chair, and thank you to members. Let me start by saying, indeed, all the questions and the comments that have been posed by members, I'm quite sure if I was an honorable member, I would also not understand why this matter has taken this long. So to confirm, yes, I am the executive caretaker for SITA. And as you asked, Honorable Van der Merwe, I just can't explain why it has taken this long to reconstruct the file. That immediately when we were informed by the department that the city was empty, within a week, that file was reconstructed. I also can't understand why a city that was made available in 2017, 2.5 years down the line, only then somebody knows that it is empty. I also, Honorable Likota, have noted, you see, for me, the issues that have been reported to me by SITA when I joined in January, that the last person who had the file is Mr. Swanepoel. But the investigation can't die just because Mr. Swanepoel is not there. So there is a security implication behind that I'm still following up to understand what this thing is all about. It's just too much of a coincidence that the paper file is not there and the data on the seat is not there. But on the specific questions that we have asked also members to respond to them. So the cause of delays is just unexplainable. But I can confirm immediately I was made available that there is no data on the city. I can confirm. Within a week, we reconstructed documentation and made available to the auditors. And we used all information that was available in the laptops of everybody who was involved in this matter from a SITA side. So clearly this could have been done even 2 years down the line. It did not need to wait for now. So that we are clear from that. In terms of the people from SITA that I will take accountability for, and I will ensure that there is consequence management for. So for me, they include two broader groups of people. So there is the people that are responsible for the procurement process and the management of the documents. So in the slides that I've made available to you, so there are two of those. For me, the fish rots from the head. So I start with the head. The head of procurement at that stage and the senior manager was responsible for this tender process. Those are the ones that are in the slides. I'm saying they will take accountability for that. I guess your next question is, why have you not yet charged them criminally or recovered the cost from them? Because I wanted all the work that is being done by the investigators, SAP and T, to be concluded, so that I'm able also to calculate how much effort did it take for us to reconstruct the information that we have now made available to SAP and T, the forensic investigators. That money must be recovered back from those two people to start with, because they were responsible in the preliminary information that I have for management of the file. So immediately for me, the investigation is concluded from Home Affairs. Within a week, I will also be able to quantify how much money SITA has lost in reconstructing a file. And that gives me enough time for me to lodge the specific charges to recover the money that is related to the lost files. But it can't stop there. There is a second issue that also the AG has raised around the irregularities of the process. I have confirmed that two of the people that were involved in the whole process, in the adjudication process, are still at least within the employ of SITA. So immediately this forensic investigation is also concluded, and these irregularities are also confirmed by the forensic auditors. I'm then able also to go further, including on those other people, because they are also going through everybody who was involved in this process. That investigation, that report, the sooner I get it, it will also assist me on the role played by them in this irregular contract and the amount the state has lost in an irregular contract, for me to be able to lodge separate criminal charges on those for approving, for recommending for the approval of this irregular contract. So at least I still have two within SITA. Even the others that are no longer within SITA, we will take advice and also follow within that process. The third component for that, which is what the Deputy Minister has spoken about, is their value for money. So beyond us finding irregularity within this process, was there value for money in this contract that has been implemented by EOH? So I need to understand that. So that for any loss of value for money for the state in implementing that, I will also be working with the legal team to see how much can I also recover from that in terms of the value for money proposition within that. The last part in the questions broadly that we have then raised, with all this whole thing about now EOH saying they can now not continue and they wish a subcontractor should continue to do this work, we will be, I need to be as clear as possible because EOH has tried to do the same thing in other departments where they are now walking away from contracts that they have had and they are giving to subcontractors. The SITA position is firm and clear. No, that is not allowable. You cannot win a contract when there are problems for you, whether you won it rightly or irregularly, and then when there are problems, you now want to run away and give it to your subcontractors. All of you are one. So if EOH will no longer be able to implement this contract within Home Affairs, it means also their subcontractors cannot be able to get a chance to continue to implement this. That's across the board. So you can't choose that when things are bad, now I no longer want to implement this contract, I want to give it to my subcontractors. That's irregular. And for a SITA position, we have already done it for one more department, one other department, where EOH wanted to walk away from the contract. I've already informed that department that that is not allowable. It is not going to be done. So I'm quite sure also for the Home Affairs matter, we will do the same thing as SITA. So in closing, Chair, because I'm going through all the questions that were asked. So the information that was asked about the 183 people that were suspended from SITA, that information has also, I can confirm, has also been made available to SCOPA. So this was in relation with the cleanup in the procurement process of SITA. We will make that information, Chair, also available to this portfolio committee. But my team has informed me it was made available to SCOPA already last year. So I will make sure that information is made available to the committee. And that information is about cleaning up our supply chain management unit and the corruption that was happening within that. So we will make it available to the committee also. I think, Chair, I've tried to answer the key issues. Those that I've left are the ones for the department which the minister will then address. But I've addressed the SITA specific matters, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. Minister?
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Once more, thanks to the members of the committee, especially the seriousness and the manner in which they discuss this issue. First and foremost, I want to agree with Mr. McClure and emphasize what he has said, that we can't let this matter slip through our fingers. We can't let it go. I am as angry as members here are, because I'm now being dragged in front of this committee to try and answer questions about the deeds of other people. That will bring anger to any human being. And so I'm equally angry. And there is no way on earth I am going to let this issue slip through the fingers. But I really want members to understand, lest we inadvertently make certain people escape by acting hastily and in anger. First of all, Chairperson, there is a assertion by Mr. Moela and a question why Minister Mzwaleli did not act immediately on learning about this issue. I learned about this issue in June last year, a month after I've arrived in the department, when the Auditor General flagged this issue. And in July, I've already sent the DDG to meet the Auditor General to understand exactly what the issue is. And when the Auditor General finally agreed with us that we need to appoint forensic auditors, we started that process. One could have gone to any forensic company. We know many. We know auditing companies in the country. We know big names who are auditors. We could have gone to any one of them. But I can assure you today, I'll be standing here in front of you, again being accused of appointing a forensic auditor irregularly. We had to go into the market. We had to issue a tender. We had to follow processes so that we don't resolve one irregularity by committing another. And you are aware that when you issue a tender, I mean an advert for a tender for somebody to do this work, it is another process. And that process, when it was finalized, the forensic auditor were ready by March, and it coincided with the beginning of COVID, unfortunately. That's why they had to delay. I mean, that's why they delayed, but they have completed the first step of documentation. A lot of questions here have been asked by members. Members, those questions can only be solved, can only be answered by a forensic, because what is forensic science? The other name for forensic science is criminalistics. You don't hire forensic auditors if you don't believe a crime was committed, either a financial crime or murder crime, as veteran Lokota is suggesting, but it's done by forensics. And that's what we are waiting for. The forensics have just completed the documentation phase. Somebody asked here, if information is lost, are there no computers? It's not everybody, honorable members, who can obtain information from computers. It needs a special skill. It needs some of these computer gurus in forensics to come and get into my computer and find what information is there. Now, that is the step that has been finalized. Where I'm appealing with you is to get angry and say charges must be laid today, because I'll tell you why. If I'm wrong, please, Chairperson, reopen it and tell me so. The forensic auditors told us the step now that they are left with is to interview individuals who have been flagged by their first step. They need to talk to individuals. And I'm sure you are aware, you are all South Africans. You are aware of a very high-powered case where somebody was left off the hook because the person who was doing investigation never gave them a chance to speak. Those who know law, they will know that there's a rule called odi alteram partem, the right of the other party to be heard. And that is where they are now, the forensic auditors. They are going to call individuals, I don't know how many, to interrogate them or interview them one by one before they make any conclusion. They might be having a conclusion that Mr. Teralokota committed this and that, but Mr. Teralokota has not yet answered for himself, has not yet been brought to be questioned and give their own version. That is the version where we are. And I would like to plead with members of the committee to please respect those laws, because judges don't look very kindly to this type of mishaps, and they'll just regard it as carelessness. Miss Moleko has asked, Honorable Moleko has asked, how will investigation be done when files are missing? And I've already answered that. That's why you need forensics. Forensics can be able to find out that which is missing, how it went missing and by what mechanism, and find out exactly what they do about it. Now, I also agree with Minister Lokota. I'm sure you are aware, Honorable Lokota, I'm sure you are aware, because we're in government, even during the time of Truth and Reconciliation, quite a number of things that were done. They'll mention somebody who has passed away. I'm sure you remember that. And it happened so often that it was no longer funny, but they'll keep on saying, no, so-and-so has passed away. He's the one who knows about this information. Now, I think we are dealing with the same issue here. And as to whether Mr. Swanepoel is being judged when he's gone, and I don't know him from a bow soup. I've never seen him. I've never known anything about him, but I really feel pity for him. That was sitting here talking about him when he's in his grave and he can't answer him for himself. But I've got the belief, it might be a wrongly placed belief, that the forensic auditors will answer for him. whether he was correct or wrong, or whether to hide this thing behind him is correct. By following the paper trail, remember they are going to follow the paper trail from the computers, even if the documents and files are missing, they will follow the paper trail until they come to a conclusion whether indeed Mr. Swanepoel did something wrong. Honorable Lukota, the issue of clusters and cabinet, I'm not sure where they come in here. We don't usually report this type of matters to clusters and cabinet unless it's so intractable that we can't solve it. We believe on our own, we definitely can solve it. Now, the other issue I want to answer is from Honorable Chabane about this issue of possible collusion, because it's also being investigated. The reason that the Auditor General Office mentioned possible collusion is because between EOH, which is the company that SITA awarded the tender to, they've discovered another company which later on subcontracted EOH after EOH won the contract. Then they realized that that company that is subcontracted by EOH was a competitor. In other words, before the contract was awarded to EOH, this company was a competitor. Now it's coming in as a subcontractor. So the question is, was there maybe collusion that do this and that, lose, make me win, then I'll bring you under my wing? That is what also the forensic auditors are investigating. Why were you a competitor? Now all of a sudden you are a subcontractor. Was there some form of collusion or discussion between the two of you? That matter we're also hoping that the forensics will shed some light. Now, Chairperson, I really want to plead with you. You are making a ruling that myself and the Minister of Communication and Technologies and Information Technologies must appear before the committee the first week of September. The first week of September is next week, really. And I'm not sure whether anything will have changed in investigation. And my worry is we will come. I definitely will come. I've never refused to come when you called me. There's not a single day, unless maybe I'm away, that I never appeared in front of this committee. I will appear. And my worry is we'll rehash the very same thing that was discussed today, because it will just be a week. And I think it will be frustrating to the committee. You will just get even more angrier. I'm really humbly appealing to you to really look into the matter. Today is the 25th, and I'm not sure whether in the first week these matters will have been, done justice to. And I do agree with the committee that we must make sure that within a reasonable period of time, maybe by the end of September, this investigation has come to finality. We can only plead with the forensic auditors. We can only ask them that if they were going to interview individuals, if they wanted to take 5 days interviewing them, maybe they must take 2 days or 1 day. We can only plead with them. We are in their hands. We completely depend on them. Because if we go and force them to give us what they had, when they lose, when this case is lost, they will blame us and say, no, we told you, we have not yet finished our investigation, you hurried us. So I don't want us to let the culprits off the hook in this matter. But I'm promising the committee, we cannot and we dare not let this slip through our fingers. It's not going to, because some culprits are going to be taken book. As the Deputy Minister has already said, even on the issue of value for money, that is the last phase of this investigation, whether Home Affairs paid for value for money. The issue of penalties is inbuilt in every contract, that if you do this, you get penalized for this much. If you don't do this, you get penalized for this much. If you don't finish with, so all those issues we are still looking at. Nothing has been finalized here, but for the fourth time, I repeat, nothing will be let to slip through our fingers. We'll make sure of that, and we'll come back to this committee and show them what has been done. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Minister. Maybe I must start with your appeal. Your appeal is granted. We are going to look into this matter the first week of October. I'm aware that first week of October, we're also doing a BRRR reports, but this will be subject to our administrative components finalizing. But for the record purpose, not the first week of September, the first week of October. And we are requesting that there must be an improved communication between the department and the Department of Communication for the purposes of this investigation. And the issue of the deceased, we want a clear report because we don't want people to say it's on Mr. Swanepoel, this and that, because he can't answer for himself. I will only comment when a report showing towards that direction. Then we'll only comment then, because now we're only told he is deceased, as though if he's deceased, then that is the end. That is not acceptable. We are going to be working very close with the Auditor General. But we also want the SITA to look, because Mr. Swanepoel was not working alone, and he's not the one who adjudicated over. Usually, I worked for government for over 14 years. I know that there is a tender in the supply chain environment. There is a tender specification committee, there is a tender evaluation committee, and there is a tender adjudication committee. We want to know what happened to those kind of things, because if this amounted to irregularity, because from where we're sitting, it is irregular in a lot of fronts. But other than irregularity, when EOH was appointed, EOH decided, and now it was colluding with officials, the money for the first phase got exhausted, then they used money for the second phase. Under what circumstances did that now happen? Because the EOH now wants to pull away. They want to give it to the subcontractor because the monies are exhausted. The subcontractor wants to increase the scope of work by 100 million. So this corruption by EOH must be brought to light and to book properly. So the first week of October, Minister, I think will suffice, subject to our administrators reconciling our diaries. And I want us to step off this matter. And I want to thank the members of this committee for this collective effort of ensuring that you hold the executive into account. And I'm particularly impressed today. There's no dissent. We're all singing in one tune, and I'm very happy with that. We're going to step off this item now, and I'm giving indulgence to those from communications and SITA. If they wish to continue to sit in the meeting, they may continue out of free volition, but if they have other things, commitments to do, they may leave the meeting. We can now concentrate on the Minister and the Deputy Minister and the Home Affairs related work. The item that we're going to now, where is my agenda? We're going to item number 5, update by the DHA on the committee resolution, stroke also the issue of the PPE as raised by Honorable Ross in our last meeting, and we'd agreed to raise those issues today. I'm handing over to you, Minister stroke Deputy Minister stroke Acting Director General. And unmute yourself, Minister. Minister, unmute.
Yes. Sorry, Chairperson, I missed something. I couldn't hear you. Are you saying we must go on and report on the progress made on the update on the DAH committee resolutions? Is that what you said? I couldn't hear very well.
Yes, that's what I was saying on those issues, including the PPE questions that were raised last time that fell over to this meeting.
Okay. Okay, can I let the acting DG to lead us in this case, and together with the CFO, can they lead us? Then we'll take questions. Thank you very much.
With my permission.
Mr. McKay.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson, Honorable Minister. Chairperson, I will go through the spreadsheet again with the decisions of the portfolio committee and progress on it. As Chairperson had said, I did a presentation in the last portfolio committee, but the document was not received by all of the members. So I will go through this document again. If I am done, I will then request the CFO to talk to the issues around the procurement, the PPE procurement process, and especially related to the questions that have been asked by the honorable members in the last meeting. Chairperson, I will try to share my screen now. Chair, the first issue is the appointment or progress on the appointment of the Deputy Director General for Information Services. This post, Honorable Chairperson, was advertised on the 30th of August 2019 with a closing date of the 13th of September 2019. Selection was scheduled to unfold during March 2020, but this was overtaken by the national lockdown, which came into effect on the 27th of March 2020. Shortlisting was subsequently undertaken on the 2nd July 2020, and interviews were held on the 10th of July 2020. Regrettably, no suitable candidates were found during the interview process, and the process of re-advertising is currently in motion. Chairperson, the second issue was a plan to respond to queries by honorable members of the committee. Letters have been written to all of the portfolio committee members explaining the submitting process of all queries relating to civic services per constituency. And all of these queries will be coordinated through our intergovernmental relations unit, who will disseminate to the identified query project coordinator. And we believe that this will be able to timeously we would be timeously be able to deal with any queries from honorable members and resolve those queries as well. Chairperson, with regard to the issues around the mobile trucks, the portfolio committee wanted to know the list of mobile trucks per province and their capacity. The department has a total of 100 mobile units. Out of this, 4 units are at head office, and these are used for special projects or to strengthen capacity in provinces where required. And 96 of these units are deployed in all of our provinces. Eastern Cape has 14, Free State has 9, Gauteng province has 8, KwaZulu-Natal has 13, Limpopo province has 12, Mpumalanga has 10, Northern Cape 10, Northwest 9, and Western Cape 11. These mobile units can be used for taking smart ID card and passport applications. They also can perform both birth and death registrations. But Chairperson, the department is currently struggling to maintain a consistent 100% functionality of these units due to challenges in the area that are system related, and these are weak. We have weak connectivity on our mobiles when they are deployed to deep rural areas or farming communities, unlike in urban areas where they work relatively well. And also we have an issue with the system downtime experienced by these units because of the weak connectivity experienced in the deep rural areas. Chairperson, the mitigating factor here that we've put in place is that currently the trucks are using MTN networks, which are not everywhere. And to solve this problem, we are looking at the possibility of equipping the trucks with units that are able to pick up any available signal, stronger signal in the area, be it MTN, Vodacom, Cell C, or Telkom. With regard to our system downtimes, SITA has now developed a plan to redesign a connect networks which had shortcomings both from an infrastructure and from a transmission link perspective. And we believe that this plan to redesign these connect networks would be able to obviate the issues around connectivity and systems downtime. Chairperson, the other matter was the report on the Lindela Repatriation Center investigation and the deadline of November 2020 for the conclusion of a contract with a new service provider. Chairperson will recall this matter had to do with the escapes that happened at Lindela on the 2nd of May 2020. 9 security guards were suspended by the company Enviromongs, and they were charged with aiding and abetting subsequent to the escapes on the 2nd of May 2020. But the police later withdrew charges stating that there was insufficient evidence for prosecution. However, the company dismissed them after an internal disciplinary process. Chairperson, in relation to the deadline of the 10th of November 2020, the tender for a facility management company was advertised on the 10th of July 2020 with a closing date of the 21st of August 2020. The evaluation period is targeted for completion by the 30th of September to allow for a transitional period from the 1st to the 31st of October 2020 before the assumption of the contract by the successful bidders. And we believe that we are on track here, Chairperson, to replace the current company that is contracted at Lindela to provide services at Lindela. The other issue, Honorable Chairperson, is the report on the extension of the VFS contract. Subsequent to the submission of the department to the Portfolio Committee and the advice received from the committee, the department met with VFS Global during June 2020 to inform them of our intention to extend the contract and to discuss the way forward. VFS is currently consulting with their top management and board as part of their governance structure to review the terms and conditions of the contract. The contract provides the department with the right to extend the contract for a successful renewal period of 36 months. And I quote verbatim what the contract says, Chair. It says that this agreement may be renewed by by Home Affairs upon written notice to VFS Global at least 60 calendar days prior to the expiry of this agreement for successful renewal periods of 36 months each, or such shorter period as DHA may deem necessary on the same terms and conditions that are in effect under this agreement. Both parties, DHA, unquote, Chairperson, both parties, Home Affairs and VFS, will now consult, are in the process of consulting with their respective legal departments to work on the addendum of the contract, and the addendum will set the conditions for extension. Home Affairs has met with VFS during this month of August for updates on consultations. And since this contract expires in December 2020, it is expected that the current process to extend the contract will be concluded on or before the 30th of September 2020, which is in compliance with contract conditions between the two parties. The next issue, Chairperson, relates to the plans on the Cape Town refugees. Honorable Chairperson will also recall that these were the refugees that had taken refuge at the church in Cape Town City. The cases of these refugee protesters who were based at Green Market Square are still being processed by the Refugee Appeals Authority, and those that need an appeal outcome are awaiting a hearing opportunity, which the Refugee Appeals Authority was not able to conduct due to lockdown regulations and the closure of the Refugee Reception Center in Cape Town. Prior to the outbreak of the coronavirus, it was agreed between the City of Cape Town and the Premier's office that the reintegration process would start immediately after the verification was concluded. Resources to reintegrate were offered by the City of Cape Town, but none of the refugee protesters came forward to take up the offer. The risk of the loss of life and the uncontrolled spread of the coronavirus resulted in the establishment of a temporary shelter by the City of Cape Town in collaboration with the Department of Public Works in Bellville and Wingfield. These centers were established to provide shelter to destitute South Africans and refugees living on the streets of Cape Town, as well as the refugees illegally occupying the Methodist Church. These centers were intended to serve as processing centers for reintegration once the coronavirus lockdown risk levels were lifted. We are cognizant of the fact that this portfolio committee ruled that integration is the only viable solution, failing which deportation will have to be considered. However, such a process could not happen intra-lockdown. Chairperson, the other matter is on the progress on the asylum seeker processing centers that we needed to establish in the provinces abutting our northern neighbors and eastern neighbors, northeastern neighbors. Chairperson, a feasibility study was finalized and submitted to National Treasury for approval as part of a PPP process to establish a asylum seeker processing facility in Mpumalanga. It then emerged that the department, Chairperson, does not have funds in its baseline to fund the construction for such a facility, and the matter has been placed in abeyance since. Because of the current economic climate in South Africa, Chairperson, we would not have received any money from Treasury to increase our baseline to be able to fund the construction of this facility. And it has been placed in abeyance until we have the funding available. Chairperson, the other matter relates to the roadmap of the BMA and the process of the appointment of the commissioners. Honorable Chair, a BMA roadmap is in place which will guide the rollout of the Border Management Authority over the short, medium, and long term. This 15-year roadmap is being implemented in an incremental manner over 6 phases. The immediate focus is the financial years 2021 and 21-22, which will be on the first 3 phases that will address. Phase 1 will address the completing tasks from the pre-establishment phase. Phase 2 will be undertaking tasks linked to the planning and establishment phase, and phase 3 commencing the implementation of the phase dealing with the initial rollout of the Border Management Authority. Each of these phases have specific identified tasks within the context of the limited funding made available to the BMA over the current 2020 MTEF of 109.5 million. These priorities and tasks will be flexibly executed. The objective over the current term of government, that is 2020 to 2024, is to roll out the BMA to 18 ports of entry and 5 segments of the land border enforcement area. With regard to the appointment of the commissioners, the BMA Act needs to be brought into an operation to enable the appointment of a commissioner for the BMA. In this regard, a draft BMA commencement proclamation has been signed by the Minister of Home Affairs for submission to the presidency, and the earmarked date for the operationalization of the BMA Act is 15 September 2020, of course, contingent on the proclamation being signed by the President by then. The department is currently undertaking human resource related matters pertaining to the appointment of a commissioner for the BMA, and tasks in this regard include inter alia the finalization of job profiles and grades, and once the recruitment prerequisites have been finalized, the relevant documentation will be submitted to the Minister of Home Affairs and the President for consideration. Chairperson, with regard to the constitutional judgment on the electoral process, the Department of Home Affairs is already consulting with different stakeholders, including the IEC. The department will be tabling a substantive submission to Cabinet containing proposed policy options in judgment. Once Cabinet has approved the suitable electoral system in line with the Constitutional Court judgment, the with various stakeholders, including the PC of Home Affairs, will begin. And during this process, a legislative roadmap will be introduced. Chairperson, with regard to the deployment or employment percentage on youth and people living with disability, Chair, as at the 31st of July 2020, the department's employment percentage on youth, that is employees aged 35 and younger, was 16%. That is 1,393 out of 8,704 employees. And this breakdown per head office and provinces has been attached to this document that has been circulated to the honorable members as Annexure A. At the 31st of July 2020, the department's percentage on employing people with disability was 1.8%. That is 157 out of 8,704 employees, and the breakdown is also attached as Annexure B. The norm here, Chairperson, is 2%. We are currently at 1.8%, and we are committed as the department to see, and even that in the next round of employing people in the department, that we actually reach or exceed the norm or the target of 2%. Similarly, Chairperson, the other matter was the employment, the number of women employed at senior management level at HQ and per province. As at the 31st of July 2020, the department's employment numbers and percentage of women at senior management level was 59, which equates to 46%. Males at senior management level is 69 males, which equate to 54%. And this breakdown per head office and provinces has been attached. And here too, Chair, we are committed to getting the norm of or exceeding 50% employment of females or more of females at the senior management level in the Department of Home Affairs. Chairperson, the other issues raised was the number of officers under public work property, as well as those properties that the department are renting. The department is currently occupying 212 state-owned properties, and the schedule is also available to you. And the department currently rents 230 privately owned properties. The schedule is also available, giving the owners of the properties the period of rental, etc. Chairperson, with regard to the commitments in support to SMMEs, in particular women and youth, the report on the EMEs and QMEs in respect of these bids are also included as annexes to this report. Chairperson, the progress and implementation of all of our recommendations as per our audit action plan, an updated audit action plan is enclosed, and it should be noted that the internal audit is validating the actions that have been taken, and the report from internal audit will be submitted once the validation process is complete. Chair, we also presented to the portfolio committee when the honorable chairperson and the portfolio committee visited the department to look into the matters of the underperformance of our legal services unit. We made a presentation there where we made certain commitments, and one of these was that we would employ more legal people within this particular unit. With regard to this, Chairperson, 13 posts, 8 legal have been identified. There are 8 legal administration officers and 5 senior legal administration officers were funded and advertised with a closing date of the 10th of July 2020. Shortlisting took place on the 12th of August, and the interviews were conducted yesterday, Chairperson. And Chair, with regard to the multidisciplinary team that we would have employed to assist us to look at the issues around the contingent liabilities and other matters, and a system to be able to track legal cases in the department. The multidisciplinary team has been identified, and what is left is a written permission from the government of Mpumalanga to utilize the customized management system for litigation. Chairperson, the other matter that we needed to report on was the plans on alternative measures to mitigate poor network in our Home Affairs offices. The SITA has developed an improvement plan for Home Affairs end-to-end service delivery. This was as a result of the assessment that revealed shortcomings in the SITA core network. The network design has multiple single points of failure, both from an infrastructure and transmission link perspective, and a remedial plan with a schedule and activities for the core network has been developed and will be presented to our departmental executive committee for approval. Chairperson, on the issue of the progress on the report of the internal EOH investigation, I will not dwell on that, Chairperson, because we have just done, the committee has just dealt with this matter. I thank you very much, Chairperson. That then are the issues that have been raised by the Portfolio Committee, and we will ensure, Chairperson, that we periodically update the Portfolio Committee on progress on these particular matters that the Portfolio Committee has raised. I will now ask the CFO just to deal with the issues around the PPE, procurement process.
Thank you, Mr. McKay, and thank you, Chairperson. Chairperson, just for us to recap, the presentation on the triple P that was made at the last meeting had a schedule attached, an Excel schedule that provided for 441 transactions. Of those transactions, 215 of those transactions were petty cash transactions. We did indicate in that schedule that who we bought from, how much we paid per unit price, when we bought and who bought from and what process was followed. So basically we followed two or three processes, if I can call them that. The first one was for petty cash purchases. That's petty cash purchases. We were forced to use petty cash because of our decentralized local offices, where we had to get the offices, we had to enable the offices to procure whatever they needed for the PP pandemic in the beginning, using petty cash from whoever had stock available. From that process onwards, Chair, we then followed the central supplier database processes determined by National Treasury. We did not issue any tenders. We didn't issue the Treasury Regulation 16A64 deviations. Chair, you will recall that from that schedule that the total amount of orders placed was just over 20 million rands. That was for all the stuff up to the end, up to the 14th of August. We have not paid for all those orders because some of the deliveries and things were still outstanding. Chair, if I then may now go to the questions raised at the last meeting, and so I can't remember who asked what question, Chair, but I'm just dealing with the questions then in particular. The first one was about cleaning services, Chair. There was a question about cleaning services, whether we have now service providers for cleaning services in particular offices. Chair, I can confirm that that is the case. We did appoint cleaning services. That was necessary that some of our cleaners contracted COVID and then became incapable of coming to the office to clean. So we had cleaning services that then worked on a rotational basis that would go to an office, and it's as and when required. Chairperson, there was also a question about Gauteng province in particular and why there was no orders issued for cleaning services in Gauteng province and deep cleaning in particular. Chair, we have been fortunate in that the department has received offers and donations, especially on cleaning service in Gauteng and our head office components, and that has now been extended to KZN, Western Cape and other provinces as well. From religious organizations and other organizations that then do the deep cleaning for us for free as a donation. So, Chair, I will make available a list of all the donations we received. That list is still just in preparation, but we'll make that list available. Chair, then there was also an issue about price discrepancies on the schedule. So you will notice that some items on the same day will cost different prices. I'm not sure that was to be expected in the time of the pandemic, and because we bought from different people at different places. So, Chair, if all the prices were the same, I would have been more worried. Chair, then as I said, we used the central supply database processes. We did not approach service providers and say, please, we want to buy from you, and then you're not on the central supply database. But that's the instruction notes from Treasury also made provision for the upwards and downwards revision of prices. So the price for sanitizer, for instance, has come down tremendously since March. You can get it much cheaper now than you would have gotten it then. Some things like surgical masks or N95 or FFP masks are still expensive because the demand outstrips the supply. But the department has taken the decision that we will provide cloth masks and that we will provide face shields. So we're not providing any more, we're not buying any more of that unless we run out of stock, but we still have sufficient stock for cloth masks and face shields. Chair, we also try to maintain adequate stock levels for at least 3 months. So we do not buy every day, we buy enough stock for 3 months at a time, and that's what we then do. Chair, I believe those were the questions that related to the PPP presentation made the last time. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I'm going to take honorable members. Honorable Rose. Hello.
Hello.
Honorable Rose, Honorable Muela, Honorable Lizelle, Honorable Kanyile. Yeah, for now. Honorable Rose.
Okay, thank you, Chair. And thank you to the team at Home Affairs for that presentation. This is a tremendously helpful to track these resolutions. My first question or comment is really about the progress on the appointment of the DDG of Information Services. So I think we've seen that Home Affairs have really struggled with IT-related projects and that. So my question at this point is, since the last process has failed, what is the next step in timelines in terms of filling this position? The next issue is on the mobile units. And so we heard in Youth Month that the mobile units were being deployed to get learners' IDs. And there were a number of questions from my colleagues and myself in this committee about that process. I just want to get an understanding of now, to date, how many schools have managed to get their IDs, and how many schools still need to get their IDs. Because I'm getting phone calls of people saying that they're trying to go to Home Affairs to get matric IDs and they're being refused. So really there's a reliance on these mobile units. Then the report on the extension of the VFS contract, I see it says here 36 months. So my understanding from that meeting is that we discussed sort of the need for a 12-month extension. And that was in order to establish a central adjudication hub related to the e-visa program. And I just want to understand, what is the implementation status of the central adjudication hub? Is it envisaged that it's going to take 36 months for that process to complete? In terms of the PPE, just the reason why I asked about cleaning services in Gauteng is because, especially at the beginning of, I think it was level 3, Centurion Home Affairs claimed to be closed for several days or waiting for a service provider to come and do deep cleaning. And so I was looking for that specific item in that report and I didn't see it. So I'd just like to understand that. And I might not get that answer now, but if I can get it in writing, please, just what happened in terms of Centurion and the deep cleaning that happened there, because I didn't see it on the report. And then finally, in terms of the item on the detailed report and plan to respond to queries, the resolution there is that we will receive a letter. So I'm not sure how long it's going to take to write the letter. Is the letter coming imminently? Because I'm busy with an invoice at the moment for call center services for Home Affairs due to the sheer volume of calls and correspondence that's coming in, and we urgently need this agreed process by which we take these calls and requests, and we can refer them through to the right person at Home Affairs. In the comment, it also mentions constituency. So I'm not sure what constituencies are being referred to there. So, for example, there are hundreds of South Africans stuck overseas. They cannot renew their passports because the embassy is closed. They just have no way of renewing their passports. So what constituency are they in? Which MP do they fall under? And, you know, I sent a letter to the minister on this on the 27th of July, and there's been absolutely no response. So how do we deal with that situation and situations like that, Minister? Thank you.
Honorable Muela.
Chair, thank you very much. Few issues, Chairperson. DG, thank you very much for the presentation. Let me start by the one of the CFO. CFO, I understand you very well, but I just want to check that in terms of your purchasing or whatever, in line with the PPEs, are you certain and can you connect everything done, thereof was in line as per the regulation set out by the National Treasury in terms of pricing and so on? Secondly, can you confirm that everything as far as the PPEs is concerned, were you able to in fact, everything was in order? There is no anything corrupt activities in that regard, because I've heard you very well saying you were actually following the database, your database, and so on. Now, I want your confirmation, CFO, that everything in line with the PPEs, procurement processes were in line and in accordance to the Treasury processing and the pricing and so on. If we can get the confirmation on that one. Secondly, DG or acting DG, it's a follow-up because I've raised this matter even previously regarding the DDG, HRM, and so on, that you could not get a suitable candidate. Now, Honorable Minister, my question will be, fine, you did not get a suitable candidate. Were all the candidates who applied did not meet requirements? Because if we're speaking about suitable candidates, probably it must start from an advert to say Desmond Muela requirements, Desmond Muela did not meet requirement, and then now being a suitable candidate up until the last phase where you deal with shortlisting, you have shortlisted people. After shortlisting, you took that process to what you call interviews. Now, when you say suitable candidate, you are saying they were not suitable candidates based on answering questions and so on. Can I be clarified there? Because to me, it sounds a bit confusing. On the other matter, the issue of mobile trucks, DG or acting DG, I can see that from Eastern Cape was given 14, Free State 9, and so on, based on the numbers that we've provided. What criteria have you used in terms of spreading those mobile trucks to provinces? What exactly did you identify in saying Eastern Cape must get 14, Free State 9, and that? Was it because of the vastness of the provinces or the demand and so on? Can I be clarified on that one? Now, the department is struggling, Chairperson, to maintain the functionality thereof. In fact, there are challenges in maintaining some of the mobile trucks and so on, your weak connectivity in some of the rural areas, as we have outlined, acting DG. My issue is that, as we have indicated here, that in most areas, you are struggling in terms of connectivity. And Honorable Minister, in those areas where we are struggling in terms of connectivity, that's where we need those mobile trucks the most, That's where we need, because those ones are in fact, their areas are at, it's a crisis. Let me put it that way, that they're staying in a crisis area and they can't access your town and so on. So what are we going to do in resolving? Because for us to be able to judge that we have delivered exactly, we need to make sure that we reach out those areas that need us the most. One other matter, Chair, that I think is the last matter, in terms of the number of young people or the youth. Yes, the percentage of young people or the youth employed in your department. It is reported here that it's the employees aged 35 and younger was at 16%. It's far below, Honorable Minister. It's far below. Can we improve a bit, at least to be between 20% and 40%? It's the number here, acting DG, it's not impressing, because if we speak about building a future of this country, we need to make sure that the youth is taken into consideration, not just the youth, women and persons living with disabilities and so on. So we need to take care of that one. Can we improve the 16% to be at least between 20% and 40%? Lastly, Chairperson, the issue of private owned properties. We're saying here at Acting DG we have about 230 properties, privately owned properties that we are renting as the department. What is our plan? What is our plan? Are we going to proceed renting private owned property for us to be able to provide service delivery to our people? Or as a department, do we have any plan that will deal with this privately owned property? I know that it's attached here, who are the owners and so on, acting DG. But can I be clarified? Let's get a plan for future purposes. Thank you very much, Chairperson, for the opportunity.
Thank you. Honorable Kanyile.
Thank you, Chairperson, and thank you to the presentation that says we have received from the acting DG. Firstly, before I get to my questions, I would like to, through you, Chair, appreciate the intervention by the Minister in assistance.
Can you switch off your
As to deal with the backlog that we had on administration. I think the last meeting that I attended, I made.
Kanyile, can you hear me?
I can hear you. My video is off.
Yes, we are better.
Can you hear me, Chairperson?
We are better now by far.
Oh, okay, thank you so much.
Proceed.
I wanted to get to my questions. I want to appreciate the Minister's intervention. In the last meeting that I attended, I indicated that I was not getting any assistance, or officials were not responding to our emails, and most of the queries that we have received from the members of the community, they have been resolved. And thank you so much, Minister, for your intervention. Coming to the report, I want to go to the issue of mobile units. While we the next question is that we have been getting a number of queries, and the same queries have been escalated to the DDG about offices that have been closed. Some are the allegations that they have been closed because of
I'm very sorry.
Corona. Sorry.
I'm sorry, Honorable Kanyile, you keep on cutting. So to continue, it may be we may be multiplying our own efforts by 0. Can we just stop it there? You'll put them down. Those questions, those that they've had, they will answer, but because they can't hear. Is that
Okay,
acceptable?
thank you, Chairperson. Thank you, Chairperson. I will write my questions.
Thank you. Honorable Lizelle.
Thank you very much, Chairperson, and thank you very much to the Acting Director General. I think I would like to thank firstly the Minister for the letter we received this morning indicating the communications information that he would like us to utilize in terms of communicating issues to his department. However, I would like to say that I noted that it contained email addresses and landline numbers, and I would want to request that maybe, if possible, Minister, we could have the cell phone numbers of the officials you want us to communicate with, because during this time of COVID, one is not always sure if somebody is in the office, or sometimes it might take long to be able to reach somebody on a landline or via email. So maybe just that concern. Then I wanted to say, I think we must commend the department for doing well in terms of employing women, and we note the ADG's comments that they would want to reach the 50% target, and that is commendable. But I would like to agree with the Honourable Moela that we should try and do a little bit better in terms of the employment of young people. They are the future. They should be able to get opportunities within the department. And then with regard to the employment of people with disabilities, even though it is at 1.8%, which is low, that percentage is also going to increase because I serve on the Portfolio Committee of Social Development, and recently we were informed that that government target will in fact be increasing to 4 or 6%. So we just need to keep that in mind, that when we do advertise and look for people, that we should be actively looking to employ people with disabilities. On the comment with regards to the poor network at Home Affairs offices and the SITA core network challenges, there's a mention of a development of an improved end-to-end service delivery plan or intervention, and then that it will be presented to the Home Affairs Exco. Can we get a time frame in terms of when this will be presented to the Exco? Because I do feel that these challenges of connectivity issues at Home Affairs offices are really something that we keep on talking about, but there's never really any positive intervention. So can we get an indication as to when this report or detailed plan will be discussed and tabled and finalized? Also, like my honourable colleagues have said before me, I need to get an indication. I do not understand how in a country with such high unemployment figures, where we've got a lot of people skilled in management, IT and communications, are we failing to find a suitable candidate for the position of DDG's information services? It seems completely unbelievable that we are unable to identify a suitable candidate. So I would really also like to understand what is the problems in this regard. Is it simply that you can't find a person with the right skills, or it seems we need to have a little bit more information there? On the issue of mobile trucks, of the 100 or the 96 that we had a list of where they deployed, the ADG said that some of them are not working because of a variety of issues. How many are currently on the road as we speak? If we can get an indication in that regard. Also, maybe I think, it will be helpful for us as a committee if we can get detailed list of where these mobile trucks are situated, or a road map, for example, in the different provinces, so that if we do get issues from our constituencies, for example, in rural KZN, and there is a mobile truck, for example, in September going to, say, for example, Umkanyakuri district, then we can be advised of that information and then also pass it down to our constituencies. So maybe if we can be given a detailed list of the operations roadmap of these mobile trucks. But of course, you won't be able to give it to me now, but whenever, maybe in writing. And then finally, with regards to the refugees, am I right then there's a mention there that the status of these refugees that are at Wingfield and Bellville are still being determined. Am I correct in reading it as such? And then if that is the case, why is it taking so long? Thank you very much, Chairperson.
Yeah, thank you, Honorable Luze. Honorable Makluba, I see you also send me.
Yeah, thank you so much, Chairperson. Chairperson, I want to raise a very important issue that has been labeled as a challenge. And I want to put it to the department that I don't see it as a challenge, and that is the signals on the Wi-Fi issues on the mobile units. Now, I want to actually give an example of my experience during an oversight in the Northwest Province at the office of Lichtenburg. Now, the Lichtenburg office is situated whereby people travel per taxi almost 40 kilometers in and around the area from there. People from Bisiesvlei, Titso, Botla, Bakerville, Colini, Sannieshof, Tlagole, and at times, some people even from Mahikeng that is supposed to go to Mahikeng, but they argue that the Lichtenburg office is close by. Now, why I'm saying it's not a challenge, and I would really recommend and advise that the department seriously consider, competition for other service providers. For example, you'll find that in a situation, MTN will not have signal in a specific case, while Vodacom will have, and Cell C and otherwise. So I would really think that it is important. It is of paramount importance for the department to take up that challenge and to explore other avenues as far as service providers is concerned. Another issue is the issue raised of the office itself, which Honorable Van der Merwe has also raised. This is a very busy department. This department, according to me, should have been actually a department where we have emergency services. So it is also important that we work on that when it comes to the head office itself, because we cannot go on like this. But then I want to come to looking for a suitable candidate. It goes above myself to hear that South Africa and the Department in Home Affairs cannot get a DDG head of the IT, and we all know the critical fact is that it is important to fill that position. Even AG has mentioned that urgent, because of all the nonsense and the problems that we have within the IT department. It is imperative. Now, I want to put a question. What has happened to the internal policy of us in cooperation with the Treasurer when it comes to headhunt? And why are we not re-advertised? And what is the strategy behind this? I think we should engage and with other departments. Unless we are saying here that we want we want to deploy this suppose and depending on what mental policy place to deal with it. It is important that we deal with DDG positions within the organization. And we cannot, again, wait for example, to have some suitable person employed in the organization. I think we should departments have a pool of candidates and give everyone the opportunity so that we can deal with business of the day where we have a lot of challenges within the IT department. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Honorable Chaban.
So thank you, Chairperson. Thank you very much for the opportunity. Chair, I only have 4 issues to raise. Is that, Chair, is just to appreciate the process you have taken, that the committee must get updates on decisions we've taken. I think it assists all of us to enhance our cohesion on particular issues that we decide on. And I think the important step you've taken, Chair, which gave authority to all members of the committee to know and the appreciation that is done by the members. It would be further important, Chair, that this appreciation and comment we are making to the department, we do them also in public, so that we assist the department and do awareness ourselves as members of the committee to alert members on the repositioning of the department. It will be quite important because out there, the narrative still continue that department is not doing work, it's not changing their problems. So the little change that we appreciate as members of the committee, it will be quite important that we extend them, elevate them to the public. When we do our own contribution of debates in Parliament, where there's good progress, all of us must take responsibility and do that because it's for the people, and those people must be able to see the good work that we are doing as a collective work of the department. The issue, Chair, I think Honorable Mwela is raising around the percentage of the youth. I think that is central. It's not a coincidence that the Deputy Minister who was just emerged from the youth. I think that area needs to be taken. Important, Chair. People living with disability, the youth, the co-chair has indicated women. I think must be a central point to implement as part of contributing to this reposition, because Home Affairs, as the Minister has indicated previously, that will stay there for ages, whether we'll be there or not. But is the aging personnel, but also must gradually get the youth to be there. But also finding expression and participation in the overall economic opportunities within that department, these three categories: people living with disabilities, youth, and women. You'll recall that in our first meeting, Chair, the Minister came with a high contingency of seasoned administrators of May. And there was a question as to whether there's no appetite to reflect, to change the executive or to contribute for women. I think we still hold that view, that as we go on, the presentation needs to be presented. The other matter, Chair, is the issue of the private entity that I think Honorable Mela has raised. I think if you check the overall money that we're paying these private institutions, if you take it for 5 years or 10 years, we could have, this cost money could have built our own Home Affairs offices or bought by our own Home Affairs offices with the modern master plan that you have presented and within the context of reposition. I think it's a matter that as you look on your turnaround time strategy in this reposition, it's a matter that you need to look on. Chairperson, it will be quite important that, which is my last point, Chair, we may need to come back also to the issue of the turnaround time on the issues that are resolved by the department. And we are of the view, Chair, that issues can be resolved when the co-chair is raising it with the DG or the minister, or the whip is raising it with the DM or Honorable Ross. No, it can't be work like that. I think the posture, Chair, was that there must be a clear plan on issues that are raised, because those that have no access to honorable members, they can call their issues can be resolved in 2 or 3 minutes. I gave an indication last year, moving from the minister, which he says there was 2 people, residents of the country, that their matters were sitting there between 20 to 14 years respectively. They've been resolved within 24 hours or 8 hours respectively. There was a woman who her matters sitting 8 years was resolved in 2 weeks. So we need to charge the department to come back with those study cases. We must understand why This matter has stayed for 20 years, but it has when resolved in 24 hours. What were the mechanism that in 20 hours, the system that has managed to resolve those issues in 20 hours, so that in our appreciation for the work of the department, we are able to know and attest portfolio evidence that the department is beginning to change and what can be replicated in other provinces and the line function of the department in those areas. So I think, Chair, we may need to charge the Minister and the DM to look on those areas so that they bring the study case and give details in the comparison of period on how they resolve the matter and what are the measures that they were contributing for taking so long for this resolving of these issues. Those are my contributions, Chairperson. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I think we are left with about 10 minutes to finish. I don't even see any more hand. We're going to give over to the department to respond in 5 minutes. But those that are unable to respond to today, you are free to can give us a response so that you avoid forcing to respond today, only to find that the answer will not be the same in the next meeting. We have only 5 minutes to respond. Deputy Minister, Minister, and the acting DG. DM, let's start with you.
No, thank you very much, Chair. The one issue that I wanted to, the two issues that I wanted to respond to, one is around the actual people who have been helped by mobile unit. I will request that response we give it in writing. The numbers will change almost every day on the basis of their deployment, but they are deployed according to the vastness of the province and the number of people that they must be assisted in the province. And also we are going to schools with those trucks, but also what we are doing is that we are opening up special days for the young people to come in and apply for their ID. So we're not just using the trucks only to reach them, but we're also opening up on certain special days to make sure that we have those we actually get those people to actually be helped. Let me just stop there. I think others, because of time, I think we must give more time to the minister this time around. Thank you very much.
Thank you, DG.
Thank you, Chairperson. Chairperson, to give more time to Minister, the questions that are outstanding, we will give written responses to those questions that were raised. And once again, Chairperson, just to our commitment, we are committed to employing more youth in the department, women as well as people with disabilities. And I'm sure that we'll be able to reach this target as soon as we start recruiting our recruitment phase again. Thank you, Chair.
Yeah, that is progressive. Minister?
Thank you very much, Chair. As you said, most of the questions will be answered by writing. I just picked a few, which I think are very, very important, especially for the work of the committee. The first one is by Honorable Ruos. He wrote us a letter about people who are stuck overseas because their passports have expired, suggesting or proposing that we need to extend the period of the passport via a stamp. I think I've written a letter to the chairperson of the portfolio committee about this matter, because it's a very important matter to understand. Chairperson, the rules around passport nowadays are no longer controlled by one country. They are controlled by International Civil Aviation Authority, and they are very strict. One of the most important rules there is that a passport is never extended. When it's expired, it's expired. You can't put anything in the stamp. even if South Africa decide to do so, you'll never enter any other country with it, at least those countries that are member state for ISHAO. So we have written a letter to propose exactly how we'll do it. But if somebody is stranded overseas, who is a South African, their passport is lost or expired, there's an emergency passport that is one way that can bring you home. So nobody need to be stuck overseas. We only issue it. If you are somewhere in America, you need to come home, your passport is lost or has expired and you're not aware. We'll give you that emergency thing just to fly and arrive home, and it ends there when you arrive at you arrive at your destination. But we have made a proposal on how to fast track these issues of expired passports. There were 3 questions here, if not 4, all of them targeting one issue, the issue of DDG for or which you call Chief Information Officer, the DGD for IT. Chairperson, we have followed all the methods that are followed for procurement, advert, shortlisting using the public service and administration criteria of qualification and experience, then shortlisting and interviewing, and we just could not raise a panel of 5 people, could not raise anybody of the people who were interviewed. I think there were 5 overall people who were interviewed, but none of them made a trade out of even the number which have applied. So we then went on to the next step, which is shortlisting. And we shortlisted some people. HR told us all the shortlisted people don't qualify in terms of the advert. And I checked the advert very closely. I learned something which I might not have been aware of. Lots of people with IT, who are IT specialists, are in the private sector. And most of the government adverts are not private sector friendly. So when we sought to change the advert, we were told that no, the advert must also be in line with the job evaluation. There's something called job evaluation in department. And they said you can't advertise a job which is not in line with job evaluation. I went back to examine the job evaluation which was done in the department in the past, and I found that if you have to get people from the private sector who are IT specialists, it won't help us. And I've just given an instruction that be looked into. The evaluation committee need to meet and change that. We need to start attracting people in the private sector if we are to fill this position. Otherwise, we'll just change one person from the other. For instance, most of the people we interviewed were not new people. It was just moving from one department to the other. Most of them who qualified were working for one government department or local government, etc. And that's not going to help the state, so that's where we are. On the issue of property, I agree with you wholeheartedly, honorable members. It was raised even by Honorable Chabane. I agree, Honorable Mwela and Honorable Chabane mentioned it. I've actually approached Dr. Ramogopa, who, as you know, is the head of infrastructure unit in the presidency. We are busy discussing this with him because my argument was this, Chairperson, that a police station, a clinic, and a home affairs office are civil institutions that cannot be hired from somebody. They need to belong to the state. You have never had a government hiring a school or a clinic. They all belong to the state, or a government hiring a police station. So I said, I don't understand this practice of hiring government home affairs offices that are civic offices that have to be there. So Mr. Ramogopa has agreed, we are in discussions with him, that in the infrastructure build and infrastructure fund that he has accumulated, may they help us build home affairs offices. More so, the private offices, as we have seen, members, we have visited them, many of you, are not customized, are not user-friendly, because they were not made as home affairs offices. We hire somebody's building, which was built for something else, and you try to make that building a home affairs office. It doesn't meet your requirements, and most of the offices do. You can just go to the biggest home affairs office in Harrison Street in the center of Johannesburg. You hardly find the place to park, yet you know that home affairs offices must be visited by people who will need parking. So those are the issues we are looking at. The issue of refugees, many of the refugees, we have determined their status, but there are those who have been denied refugee status and they are still here. They are waiting to be done by the refugee Appeals Authority. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. We're running out of time. Please just respond in writing to some of these questions.
Yes, we'll do.
On the issue of members writing to the minister, I just want to, in closing, members, to appeal to you that if we're to all write to the minister, our work and what we want to achieve may be compromised. And my suggestion and proposal is that let's consolidate everything, give to AD, and AD must take those things to the minister, so that our responses must not begin to be individual responses. The minister must answer my response, answer Chabanes, Roas, and so on. We'll be acting in a more clumsy way in that way. But if we can consolidate everything, want the department to answer on, let's send everything to AD, then AD must make sure that we get responses so that we avoid. And then thank you very much. I think the department is doing a lot of good work. Let's take this good work, Minister, to the nation. Let the nation know the good work that is happening, so that the nation does not only know of the negative, they must also know of the positive efforts that government is putting in dealing with this matter. My worry is the turnaround time in terms of implementation. We take long. If you check some of these issues that we have raised now and flagging today, they are as old as the time we started with the committee, and that is unacceptable. Let us resolve on the matter and finalize it so that we don't have a lot of issues to report to that are outstanding. And that, I think, will assist the work of the committee and also your work at an executive level. We have gone past by 3 minutes, and I will not have any closing remark whatsoever today because we've taken more time. I would like to close this meeting at that. And thank you everyone for constructive participation in building a non-racial, non-sexist, united and a prosperous South Africa. Thank you very much. The meeting is adjourned.